Question number 14. These are the tougher ones. Starting at C, find the coordinate P that divides segment CD in the ratio and label point P on the graph. So this word we should get rid of. And label point P on the graph. Okay, so our first ratio is 1 to 2. Now class, they tell us the starting point, and that's the first thing I'm going to write. So let's do the first one, A. Here we go. Let's go ahead and do A. We're going to divide segment CD into a 1 to 2 ratio. Step number 1 is you're going to identify the starting point. So we're going to start at point C. Point C is at -2, -3. Now those two values are two values we're going to use when we're finding point P. The -2 is going to be x sub 1, and the -3 is going to be y sub 1. Those are our starting points. We're going to be moving our way up this or across this line segment until we have a 1 to 2 ratio. Okay, the next thing we're going to figure out is the part, and that is what part of the line do we want to move through. And the part is found by taking the ratio, the first number in the ratio, 1, and dividing it by both numbers in the ratio, 1 plus 2. So our part of our line we're going to move is 1/3. That means we're going to move, if we can move 1/3 of the way from C to D, we'll have found our point P. Our next part is to find rise and run. So we've got rise. Let's take a look at that. Starting at point C, let's do our rise. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We go up 5 to get to the same level as D, so our rise is 5. Our run is our Y movement. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So our rise is 5 and our run is 6. Now what we do is we're going to find the values, the x and the y values of P. Now in your flip book, I did them all in one time in one formula. We're going to divide these up now. So the first thing we're going to find is our x value for point P. So I just do x sub P. This is the x value for point P. And that is found by taking x sub 1 and adding these two things multiplied together. The part of the line we're going to be moving times the run. And I know that's the run because the run is the x-axis, left and right. Let's plug in what we know. Our x sub 1 value, let's do these in colors so you see it. Our x sub 1 value is -2. Our part is 1/3. And our run is, oops, not 6, sorry, not 5, it's 6. Our run is 6. Let's put an equal sign here. So here's how you find x sub P. Let's go ahead and I've colored those now, so I'm not going to color them the next time. Let's just add them together. Actually, put this in your calculator now. We're actually done. So let's put this in a calculator. Let me find, oh, wrong calculator. Let's try this one. Here we go. Let's move it over here so we can see better. So we're going to put in -2 plus, and then in parentheses, 1 divided by 3, close parentheses, and then in parentheses again, 6. I'm putting the 1/3 in parentheses so the calculator knows that's all one fraction. It doesn't get confused as to where the 6 goes. When I press enter, I get 0. That means our x value of point P is 0. Let's find the y value now of point P. That's going to be y sub 1 plus the part of our line we're moving along times the rise. So basically we're taking 1/3 of the rise and adding it to our starting y value. Let's do these in colors again so we see our starting value is -3 plus, we've got our part which is 1/3, and we now have our rise which is 5. Let's put an equal sign there and put that in our calculator, and we'll be done. So we've got negative 3 plus, in parentheses, 1 divided by 3, parentheses, and then in parentheses again, our rise, and press equal. We get 4.66. There's something wrong here. Hang on a second. Let me see if I can figure out what it is. 1/3 times 5, negative 3. I want to make sure I actually got that negative in there. Let's try it again real quick. Negative 3 plus 1 divided by 3 times our rise, which is 5. Let's try that. There we go. I must have not put a negative in there to start. Negative 1.33. So we're going to scroll this up and say it is equal to negative 1 point, let's just do 1.3. Now if I would have left my answer as negative 4, I think it was, or maybe it was 3 point something, you'd see it wouldn't even be on the line. Let's take a look and see if our point is on the line, because now we have found that P is going to be at 0, there's our X for a P value, and negative 1.3. Let's see if that's on our line. Here's 0, no change in the X-axis, 1.3, that looks good. Let's go ahead and label that as P, and I can actually put the coordinates 0, negative 1.3. And you can see, class, that looks like it's 1/3 of the way to point D. All right, let's do it again with the next one. Letter B is asking us for a 3-to-1 ratio. We're still starting at C, because the question still says starting at C, so I'll still put my starting point is C, and that's still at negative 2, negative 3. We're going to go ahead and label that as X sub 1, Y sub 1. We're going to use that later. Now our part has changed, because now take a look. We've got 3. That's the top of our fraction, and the bottom of our fraction is 3 plus 1. So now the part of the line we're going to travel is 3/4 of the way from C to D. Let's take a look at our rise and run. So our rise, well now class, we always have to start from our starting point. So now we're going down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're going negative 7 is our rise, because we're moving down on our rise instead of up. And then our run, well, that still looks positive. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's our rise, and there is our run. All right, let's find our X value of point P. So X value of point P is going to be X sub 1 plus part, the part of the line we're moving, plus times the run. I'm just going to go ahead and plug all these in now. X sub 1 is negative 2. Plus part, which is 3/4, and our run is 4. Now I'll put this in parentheses, and I could have put these in parentheses as well, so you could see that's how we're going to put them in our calculator. Alright, let's put this in our calculator and see what we get. I'll slide this over the other side. Let's take a look. We got negative, let's clear this. We've got negative 2 plus, in parentheses, 3 divided by 4, close parentheses, open parentheses, there's our run, equals, and we got exactly 1. So our X value of point P is 1. Let's go ahead and do our Y value of P. That's equal to Y sub 1 plus the part that we're moving times the rise now, because rise is change in the y-axis. That's going to be equal to, let's see, Y sub 1 is negative 3 plus our part is still 3/4. Our rise is negative 7. Let's put that in our calculator and see if it makes sense. So I've got negative 3 plus, in parentheses, 3 divided by 4. And then in parentheses, -7 is our rise. Press equal. We've got -8.25. Now something still does not make sense to me there. If I look at my line segment, -8 is way off the line, so something's wrong. Let's take a look and put that in our calculator one more time. So I'm going to clear this again. Let's try it again. We've got, oh, you know what I just realized? It's not negative. Hold on a second here. Let's take a look. Our C value, oh, our C value here is -2, +3. Ah, well, that'll make a difference. So C is -2, +3. Now we've got it. So you can see, class, I actually did an error check right there and realized something is wrong. Now let's go ahead and put that in. All right, now let's try our calculator. We've got +3 plus 3 divided by 4 multiplied times -7, and our answer is -2.25. Let's see if that makes sense, because this is telling us that our p value is going to be at, here it is, 1 is our x value, -2.25 is our y value. Let's see if that goes in our graph. We've got +1, -1, 2, looks about 2 1/4 right there, looks good. So I'm going to label that as point P, and that is 1, -2.25. And if you look at the graph, it looks like we're traveling from C to D. We're about 3/4 of the way to point D, and that's what we wanted to get with a ratio of 3:1. So that explains to you how to do these subdividing a segment in a given ratio.